Today is April 7th, 2020. I'm Glenn Hausman. I'm with Anthony Melchiori, and today we're going to be talking to Chris Green, CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality. We're also speaking to his VP of Revenue Management, Cassie Bond, and Roy Madhok, the VP of Revenue Management at Real Hospitality. Let's get this show started. Hey, Anthony Melchiori, welcome to Tuesday here on our live show.
Glenn Hausman with two S's. How are you today, buddy? So today we're going to be talking about revenue management. Now, when you're talking about revenue management, the number one thing that you have to think about is it could be really boring.
Yep.
So let's not be boring, okay? So I know they're in backstage and they can hear me. So I'm going to ask them really hard questions. I'm going to make them really squirm a little bit today because I'm going to ask hard questions, Glenn.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, that's our new policy over here. Make all of our guests regret coming onto our show. And let's start that off the best way we can. We got our regular guest, Chris Green, CEO of Chesapeake Hospitality here. And Chris, we got a special intro now just for you.
Fancy.
I know. We're trying to take it up a notch over here, Chris.
Hey, Chris, I was surprised with that before he showed it to me. Just to let you know, I'm really upset. And that won't be on tomorrow or the next day or ever again.
Okay. Well, I got it once, so hopefully I can record it, and see it later. So.
Oh, it's going to be back, baby.
I think I'll play that
again.
I think I'll play that in my house. So whenever anybody walks into my office, I'll play that intro. You're welcome to Chris's Corner.
I like that. So, Chris, what's been going on with you since we last spoke to you on Thursday? What's the status of what's going on in your company? What are the stuff that you're dealing with today?
So let's see. I mean, obviously last week we talked about we were really in the midst of trying to get ready for SBA Paycheck Protection Program. Everybody knows there's been lots of struggles with that, whether banks are taking applications, the amount of the loans that are available, that whether they really do help our industry and help hotel operators and hotel owners effectively, which the initial, I know everybody worked super hard on it, Chip, and everybody over at AHLA, and the stimulus is great, but the initial feedback is it's just not nearly enough. Especially since the virus looks like it's going to extend well into the summer and the downward pressure on the markets. It's just left most hotel owners wanting more. So that was the big part of last week. Then operationally we're going through whether we've closed down some hotels or keep them open and looking at those cash burn analysis for our clients. And then really, mainly, Chesapeake, or about our people, has been getting protective equipment out to the field, masks, glove protocols. We did institute temperature taking at all of our hotels prior to shifts, and gloves and mask protocol mandatory for all of our operating staff. So,
well, how does that work with the temperature taking?
But I mean, just on arrival, the representative, normally the general manager, will do the remote forehead thermometer, take the temperature, and if they have a temperature above 100, they can't report to work. So,
yep, makes a whole lot of sense. Anthony?
No, it's just really interesting where we are 3 weeks later. It's like we got the stimulus, but there are challenges. There's big challenges. I'm hearing there's some banks, the big banks, aren't even allowing those loans. I heard this morning Chase is not allowing it. I don't know if that's the case, but that's what I heard. And now no one can come to shift unless they're checked for a temperature. Everyone's wearing masks and gloves. 3 weeks ago, we were all hesitant, even though we were scared. We were social distancing. You wouldn't go into a hotel and see someone with a mask or gloves on. That would scare the living crap out of you. Now, it's so interesting how the human behavior changes almost instantly. Now, if you go into a store, a bank, or a hotel and someone doesn't have a mask or gloves on, you're like, what the hell are you doing? And there was a guy, I only go out once a week for shopping, and I went out real early this morning to do my big shopping, have my mask, my gloves, social distancing, all that. And there's one guy that literally cut in front of me, no gloves, no mask, no nothing, and was pushing in front of me in the freezer section to get whatever he needed. And I jumped back 6 feet and turned my face around so I wouldn't be anywhere near him. And also I had this sense of complete and utter rage inside my body. that it's like, what are you doing? Why are you still doing that? So it's just interesting how our behaviors changed literally drastically. And again, you don't have mask or gloves on, you're a weirdo. Before, if you have mask and gloves on, you were a weirdo.
Yeah. I had to get gas in my daughter's car. She's actually believe it or not, she's being a Instacart shopper, which I mean, she's a college kid and she couldn't take it. So she's actually shopping on behalf of others, so I've got her all set up in her car with wipes and masks. So I went to get gas for her today, and I wiped down the gas pump. I wiped down my hands, everything that anybody could touch. And honestly, it's becoming normal behavior right now. It is strange how much we've changed in just 3 weeks.
I have a Lysol can I travel with anytime
Yeah.
I go out, and I sprayed the entire cart. And I know people were looking at me behind me, but it's like last week you were looking at me because I was wearing a mask and gloves, and you guys weren't. And this week I have a Lysol can. I had a Lysol can last week, but I was a little bit more covert about it. Now I'm spraying. I'll spray you if you come near me. And it's like, listen, we're all staying home as much as we possibly can. My wife literally has not left this house in 16 days. Wow. The only place she's been is the yard, and she doesn't even go in the yard that often. She's a teacher, so she's busy, but she's like, listen, I'm listening. She's one of those people that listens really well, so she's listening, and she listens to everybody but me. But anyway, so are you what percentage, if you don't mind me asking, what percentage of your line employees would you say is on layoff or furlough?
90%.
Wow. And as far as the rate goes, with the 10% of employees, and I would imagine 10% occupancy, whatever you have you just realized this is the rate and we're keeping it low? And how are you doing with rates? We can ask the revenue manager to come on. What are you doing with rates for groups? I mean, are you really trying? Are you asking them what their budget is, or are you just trying to have the lowest rate? Or if it's a medical group or doctors, lawyers, or I'm sorry, nurses, are you just comping them? What are you doing?
I mean, we're always at Chesapeake rational pricing, right? I mean, we know that rate doesn't generate demand, but we want to be thoughtful about the different types of group we're taking in. We have had, and when Cassie comes on, she'll be able to share with you quite a number of bookings come into the hotels, and they've been across the spectrum. We are going to participate with Hilton's million rooms for medical personnel, so that comes in at just a reimbursement on your room cost. But it's a great program. So, Chesapeake, we believe in doing the right thing, and we believe that that those things matter. So really, I guess to answer your question, if it was depending on what type of group it was, we would make the right decision. If it was medical and we needed to help, we would help. All of our owners are on board for that as well.
Okay.
You'd be surprised. We've talked about the human spirit and the hospitality spirit, but I actually had a call from one of our owner clients today. And normally when an owner client calls, it's a banking issue but he called and he literally said, I don't have any agenda. I want to see how you're doing, Chris, because we have that kind of relationship. And I've just been really amazed with generally, other than that example you shared about shopping, Anthony, the human spirit and the hospitality spirit. The rooms are empty anyways. And if we have staff there, if we have doctors that need rooms or nurses that need a break or don't want to go to their family and potentially expose them, then we want to do the right thing. And I think you're seeing that all across the industry.
Yeah, and generally, I don't want to sound like I haven't seen that. That's all I see. I see old goodness.
Yeah.
This one guy was just not paying attention, but I've seen a lot of goodness. So, Glenn, why don't we bring in the revenue managers?
I think we should bring in our revenue management team. And in order to make that happen, we got to do this. Boom. All right. Again, this show is brought to you by Bartech, and they are not responsible for all of the graphics. I am responsible. Actually, our producer, Jeff, has created all of this stuff for us and really helping us bring up the quality of the show. We want to bring you guys the highest quality programming we can every single day of the week here at 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time. I'd like to welcome to the show Ms. Cassie Bond of Chesapeake Hospitality and Roy Madhok of Real Hospitality, both folks that spend their lives focusing on revenue management. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And Roy, I appreciate you grabbing your soda or whatever you were drinking and putting it down before we introduced you. So you didn't have a thing in your mouth. But now you can drink anytime you want. But the initial one, that was a good call. So I have several different revenue questions for you. But before I start, or before I ask you that question, what has it been like, Casey?
Cassie.
Is it Cassie or Casey?
Cassie.
Cassie, so what's it been like, Cassie? Just give me the first week and now, like
Wow.
for you,
Yeah.
from not from business, but you. Like what have you gone through?
Oh, I think I've hit every stage there is to go through. It's been brutal. It's been absolutely brutal. Every week has been completely different for me. My role, my responsibilities, my priorities. I mean, everything has changed, and I know it's going to change next week. It's going to change. It's been changing daily. Leading the team has been different. I think everyone has been in a state of, we were reacting, right? We were reacting to the cancellations. It all happened overnight. And then we were re-strategizing, right? If something got moved. And then now we're thinking about the ramp up. We're focused on the tomorrow. We're trying to be, proactive in third, fourth quarter and 2021 strategies. So it's been challenging. It's been very challenging, but I mean, I think it's put us to the test.
And I would imagine, I know your boss is on this, but I'd imagine working for someone like Chris and working for Chesapeake has made all the difference.
It has. I mean, it starts at the top, and his leadership has been instrumental in keeping us motivated. I mean, I think it's really, we talk every day, and that's not just me and him. That's like all of our employees. And it really keeps the message consistent. It keeps us on the same page, and it lets us know that we're all in this together.
Yeah, and that's the true test of something like this is leadership. Roy, what has it been like for you? I know you're based in New York, right?
Yes, I'm based in New York, well, Jersey City, so not exactly in Manhattan, but otherwise, it's been crazy, and I think that everyone understands that it's been beyond hellacious. I think that the last week of February is when it really started to heat up, and then March 2nd, everything hit the fan. So, the speed to market, we always talk about speed to market in the group sense, but speed to market in terms of strategizing, both short-term and long-term and forecasting has been important. So, to talk about what Cassie said, you have to touch base with your teams. You have to make sure that every hotel is scrubbing every single reservation, checking every pseudo city code that exists everywhere. Right? Every potential piece of business or transient business that does exist. That is time consuming. So putting that many hours in for 20%, 30% occupancy can be demoralizing. Not to mention all the family issues that people are dealing with right now. So you have to be sensitive to people and what they're going through, but you also have to be a responsible person for your owners. You have a fiduciary responsibility to uphold. You have to do what you can to make as much money as possible.
Yeah. And what hotels are you overseeing in New York? It's in the tri-state area. Like how many hotels? You don't have to say which hotels, but how many hotels in New York?
So we've got roughly 50 hotels in New York, between Manhattan, Queens, and then outside of that, a lot of hotels in Maryland, Delaware. That's generally where our hotels are.
Are there any hotels that are close to pretty full because of medical reasons, like nurses, doctors?
Yeah, we've got a few hotels that are nearly full. One hotel that's completely bought out. Other hotels that are 60, 70% occupancy. But it's a fight to get that business. It's certainly not easy. And the success stories that have come are absolutely unbelievable. And
give us one.
Write them on a wall. Well, one of our team members, the general manager, went and bought pizza for a bunch of healthcare administrators. Ended up making a good connection that led to the hotel being bought out.
Sorry, Glenn, didn't mean to take over.
No, I was actually admiring that you were so into it, because this, Anthony, this is what you are all about. You are all about the nitty gritty on the property level stuff, where I like to dance around the entire business. So this is right up your alley right there. So there really seems to be like this divided sky kind of thing going on, right? Like what life was like before and what life is like now. So I'm getting a question over here. Hold on. I'm trying to track multiple streams. Can I ask, if you guys are considering the cost of an occupied room into decision making, I suppose that's pricing decision making. If so, what's the real floor on a room price? But I guess that's kind of cheap because you guys don't want to drop prices. You would rather keep the prices and lose a little bit of occupancy, because at this point, what's the difference, right? Cassie, you're nodding yes?
Yes. So Chesapeake has been a RevPAR based company. So all of our decisions have been based on RevPAR. We've kind of stuck to that philosophy throughout this. There's not a lot of revenue to manage, right?
There's not a lot of pricing changes going on right now. There just isn't. So each piece of business we're looking at differently, case by case. We're being flexible, extremely flexible. It's all relationship based. And our hotels that are doing well right now is because of, it's because of contract business. It's because of, business, National Guard and other organizations, medical. So, that's where we're having the success. It's really not obviously that transient guest right now. So again, RevPAR, all about RevPAR for us.
And when they're booking that group business, one of the first questions they ask you besides rate is how you're keeping the rooms clean.
Absolutely. It's still safety right now. Safety for
right.
first and foremost.
Right. So, Chris, does that mean that you've created a policy and an easy sheet for them to be able to share with people in order to be able to transmit those cleanliness protocols that you've put in place?
Yeah, so we're using the same protocol across our entire estate. It's readily available at the front desk, readily available for the sales teams on how we're handling it. We're using the nationally prescribed protocols for cleaning. And like I said, we've gone to all the PPE for our guests and our associates available. For our associates. We also have associates on at every hotel whose only job is flat surface cleaning, right? Contact surface cleaning all day long, every day, to make sure that really that they shouldn't come in contact with a surface that hasn't been cleaned in the past hour. So, and sanitized. So yeah, it's important. And listen, I think, Glenn, that's going to be crucial. We talked about this before. After the fact is the whole Delta thing, what they're doing with the cabins. Hotels are going to have that all out front, how they're cleaning, what they've done, this is the new norm. Not that we weren't clean. We've always been clean. We really have. We work on it a lot, but I think this is going to create a whole new level.
Also, and I also think it's more of an issue where people just assumed it would be clean up to societal standards of the day. Because that has changed, people need to gain that level of confidence, right? And it's gonna take a little while to get to that point. So, Roy, let me ask you this. It feels like Mercury these days, where a day is longer than a year, So tell me about, how you're handling these particular types of issues with trying to transmit the cleanliness issue to potential customers that are out there.
Listen, there's a pricing theory called versioning. And I think that we don't use that word necessarily, but a version of hotel guests right now is not often cleaning, right? So if you have a group contract and somebody says to you that they want to stay there, but they want it to be as affordable as possible, your question is, how do you change the price? My question is, how do I get the CPOR down? So if I can make it so that I don't need to clean that room every day and that person is going to be camped out in that room for 7 days straight, they don't want somebody to access that room, I assure you we'll clean it. We'll keep it vacant for 2 days prior to the next person checking in, and we'll make sure we'll scrub it down. But in order to bring that price down for that group, we'll make sure that we get the CPR down. I think that that's really important. Additionally, right now, everyone's cutting. And I think that Chris can say that his hotels have all cut a lot. Your CPR is not the same as it was before. Marriott, Hilton, Hyatt, they've all come out with cost-cutting measures. So that CPR number is changing. So when I find out that somebody's price sensitive, my question is, okay, well, how price sensitive? And then what can we do to close the piece of business? Because it means jobs. Ultimately, every decision that we make right now is impacting somebody's job. I don't take that lightly.
Right. Yeah. You must just be so thankful that you're still working today as well, right? Yeah.
Listen, I've had to hear too many people cry to not be cognizant of how severe this issue is on most livelihoods.
Right. So we got a question from Donasil Davis. I'm curious about any recommendations, and this I should say is coming through Anthony's Facebook page. Any recommendations to maximize revenue for non-extended stay hotels?
Cassie, go ahead. Otherwise, I'll just keep talking.
Well, I was just going to say, none of our hotels are extended stay for Chesapeake.
Yeah, that's why you're perfect to answer this one.
So we've had to be very creative, but like I said, it still has been going on after more contract pieces. We're, as Roy said, we've been really just looking at our bookings, and if we see a company booking, we will target that company for our whole portfolio for every market. So we're really looking at anything and everything that's coming into any of our hotels right now. So it hasn't been. We don't expect people to stay, more than one night. We just don't. We're going after what's coming into our hotels, and that's really by dissecting every single reservation that's coming in. And it's really about the contract pieces. Those are the hotels that are seeing more than single digit occupancy right now.
And I think this extended stays have a huge opportunity in that to really talk to the guests. Your viewer's question is, that's what's out there now. But as far as maximizing revenue too, I've heard, lots of people, and we're doing a lot of it, grab and go, prepackaged meals available that they can pick up without no touch, that are in paper bags. But honestly, in this time, I will tell you that the stories we're hearing from guests are they're thankful to have a clean, safe space. The Roy's spot, housekeeping is now gone to the point where when you check in, we tell you, call if you need towels and sheets, because there's just not daily housekeeping happening. It's just a safer environment for everyone.
Are you having problems getting cleaning supplies?
Not yet. We jumped on that early, and we didn't hoard anything, but not yet. We have not. I just was talking with Lisa, our SVP of Ops, before this call, and so far so good on supplies. PPE's been more difficult, but cleaning supplies have been okay.
I think most people, if I go into a hotel room, I'm going to clean it 3 times before I unpack my luggage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and I'm probably bringing my own sheets at that point, and my own, and then like you said, and then no one's allowed in. And but for the most part, in your hotels, are you requiring people to wear masks and gloves? Guests, are you requiring them to wear gloves and masks or no?
No, not guests.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Here in New York, it's been basically mandatory. We can't go into a store, or a bank, or anywhere without wearing gloves or a mask. And that's why I was talking about that guy this morning. It's like, it's basically mandatory at this point. And if it's not mandatory by the state, it's kind of mandatory by everybody looking at you. So,
there's definitely a lot of positive peer pressure going on in that particular way.
So I just have a quick question. Cassie and Roy, you guys are young. And we 3 old guys, we've been around for a while, and we've never seen anything like this. But we've been through a lot of crap in the business, a lot of great things, but a lot of stuff. So and my background in the military is kind of focuses me, like, as soon as something happens, what do we need to do? Let's fix it. I don't get caught up in all the other stuff that I can't control. How's this been? When you're coming out of this, do you feel like, somebody said to me the other day, and you probably saw on the internet, March has been the longest year of my life. And when you're coming out of this, I would imagine you've already gained 10 years experience in this 1 month.
Oh yeah. I mean, you do have to drop everything and tackle the task that's at hand. Question that you put out there is, when you come out of this. It took 5 years for Manhattan to get out of the 2009 debacle. It took 5 years just to get back to 2008 RevPAR. And that was 26% down for Manhattan that year, roughly 26%. Do we really think that this is going to be as bad as that? No, it's much worse. It's going to take a long time.
Yeah, but I think, in my opinion, I think we're going to get there a lot quicker. We're not going to get there quick, but we're going to get there quicker than we did in 2008 for a number of reasons. I think a lot of hotels, if we get out of this quicker than hopefully 6 months, I think people are a little better situation. I think banks, no one has a choice. Everyone's got to help out. So the stuff we're going through right now, Chris, with all the small business loans and all that stuff has got to work out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that pressure has got to work out. So I think, and also I think because we're all pent up, I think the drive market's going to be amazing. And I also think people got to get back to business. So conventions are going to take a while, and groups are going to take a while, but once it happens, it's going to happen. And once people feel safe, so I think, yes, it's going to take a while, but I think ramp up, I don't know if it's going to take 5 years, in my opinion.
It's interesting, Anthony. I'm with you on that, and I'll tell you why. Because the drop in occupancy is aggravated by these circumstances. If we had had some sort of other black swan event, I don't think we would have seen 80% drops in markets and RevPAR. It's a federal shutdown on travel. So I think what is the real impact? I mean, we see it on paper, but if you didn't have federal shutdown on travel and social distancing, I don't think that we would be looking at an 80% RevPAR drop. So would we have dropped to 30% or 26? I don't know, but I think we're going to bounce back to a nominal level pretty quickly.
Yeah, but what happened in 2008 and all the other recessions we've had and all the other moments we've had in this country, we never had a switch that went from on to off.
Right.
So once we're able to move again, we're going to go from off to on. Again, we're not going to go into fourth gear like we were going on the off. We went from fourth gear to off. We're going to go from off to first, second, third, fourth gear. Whereas before in the recession 2008, it was just people for a number of reasons weren't traveling and weren't spending money. But now there's a reason we're not. And once that switch goes on, I think it's gonna go a lot faster than most people anticipate.
I feel like
Cassie,
it's more like a dimmer and less like a switch.
What's that?
I feel like it's more like a dimmer and less like a switch. This is
Right.
it's gonna be a slow ramp. I think that in markets that have a lot of supply, why offer supply that doesn't reopen? That's going to be a big thing at play. And to your point, I feel like drive markets will largely find that pent up demand will be strong for drive markets.
Listen, everything is going to open. In my opinion, almost everything's going to open. It's just a matter of who's going to open it and when it's going to open. But hotels are not like restaurants and bars. There's too much money and there's too much pressure in most markets for that to happen. So I don't agree with that. I think yes, you're going to see some roadside hotels that say for sale. I think you're going to have that, but I think different ownerships are going to take those hotels. Cassie, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. You're good. I think we are going to ramp up, but I think we're going to look completely different after. I think segments that were staying at your hotel when this all happened, those are the segments that are going to be coming back to you. I think that the target guest at your hotel before will be a different target guest, coming out of this. And it's going to take a whole remix of your business, to figure your way through this climate moving forward. So
yeah.
I think
people are going to want direction. I think travel agents are going to be really, really important coming out of this. And I think if I was a hotel, I would really focus on really good travel agents because people are going to be overwhelmed. And which place is safe? Which place do you recommend? Where can I get my best rate? I think I want to know from a travel agent that they know the hotel, that they know the people. So I think travel agents are going to see an uptick in business as well, especially if it's international. Glenn, what do you think, Glenn?
All right. So I think there will be hotel closures. I think there are a lot of folks out there that are probably over leveraged, that were counting on these really great times to continue and continue and continue. So I think that's going to put certain people in a negative position that they may not be able to get out of, even with the help of the government.
But those hotels are going to be bought by a different company, and those hotels will be ramped up.
That being said, they might stay closed for a little while, but eventually they'll get back. Maybe in certain markets, depending on what happens, some closed properties that remain closed may actually help the ones that are staying open get ramped up or get that dimmer light moved faster in the right direction quicker, kind of a thing. I know I just said the same thing twice there, but I think, in my opinion, that may be what's happening. But I've got a question coming from Jason D'Agostino over here. He's curious about special corporate pricing season, which is quickly approaching and may create the conversation for pricing in 2021. Cassie, I'm asking you because you're doing this move with the nodding the head up and the down. How are you thinking about all of that today?
So it's the big question mark right now for a lot of reasons, right? We've heard that the negotiated segment could be one of the quickest to come back, but also there's major concerns with that because their budgets have been cut. Their travel budgets have been cut. They're doing virtual meetings now, and who's to say they won't just continue doing that for some companies, So I think that we have a lot of concerns, and this RFP season is going to look completely different than it ever has before. I think that you'll consider things that you didn't consider before. I think you'll look at,
concessions and you'll look at all different, strategies to maintain your corporate accounts. But I think, keeping those relationships really strong is what's going to, the business.
Yeah, but it's going to take one person in your market to really drop corporate pricing to really screw you guys over. And once you drop that pricing, people aren't going to remember in 24 months or 36 months that you started at a very, very low base 2 years ago because of this pandemic. They're going to hold you accountable for percentage growth from that number you created.
Correct.
You think that?
I do think that. And I think the easy play to just drop your rate like that, I think that's the easy way. But I think we've learned so much in the past about what that does, and it makes it so hard to dig out of, that hole. So I hope they're able to get more creative than just rate.
Right.
Yeah, that's my big problem, and it's always been my problem with the franchise model. I mean, listen, this is what I do for a living, but you're only as good as your least competitive competitor in our markets, right, Roy? I mean, so somebody takes a shortcut and then everybody pays. There was a study done by Star about the Chicago market after 08 and 09, and from the first person to drop ADR to the they would call it the most resistant hotel was only about 6 weeks, because you end up having to follow the market or else you're sitting in trouble. So
ultimately, market forces are really powerful, and the market dictates pricing. So Cassie's point, we should all try, and to Anthony's point, when you drop your negotiated rates, you get the same 1%, 2% uptick going forward. In my view, get into the accounts, try to get your rates to be flat next year. That's going to be a battle, but try to do that. But it's the same question as distribution. You have to open up distribution. As we get out of this, you're not being selective. We can't be selective. You can't also be selective with negotiated accounts. So if you were previously like, oh, I don't want that negotiated business, you probably want that negotiated business now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I want to ask a question that someone just asked on the Facebook account. It says, hey, guys, I have a question on which hotels would be more impacted in terms of revenue, 5 stars or 3-star hotels. Well, my insight on this is, if I go to a 5-star hotel, I'm probably still paying $900, $800, $700 in New York City, because they really haven't dropped the rates that much. So even if you're paying $400, and if I go to a 5-star hotel, I am going to have higher expectations, even in the pandemic. That's why I'm paying the extra money. If I need a mask, if I need gloves, if I need sanitizer, if I need a hamburger at 2:00 in the morning, I'm still going to want that. That's why I'm staying in a 5-star hotel. So I think from a rate standpoint, they're holding their rates. Most 5-star hotels are holding their rates, and they're going to be held to a high expectation. There may be some gray area that they're going to allow. 3-star hotels can drop their expenses a lot quicker, can drop their rates a lot quicker, and could survive in most instances more than a 5-star hotel, because they really can't cut if they're going to keep their price at $800, they can't really cut their services that dramatically. And if they do, I'm not going to choose them. I'm just going to go to a 3-star hotel. What do you guys think?
I think you're more comfortable in 3-star hotels these days anyway, Anthony.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. No big deal to you. And then maybe you could also give us a little, I mean, the question was specifically 3 versus 5 stars. Maybe the real question is, after you address that, how do you see the different segments performing in the next year or so in terms of your ability to get revenue in those segments?
I think it depends on the market still. I mean, like our downtown city center hotels, regardless of star rating, got crushed immediately. Our convention hotels crushed immediately. Our airport hotels, where there's an active airport still doing okay. Our, ones that are maybe more suburban, still doing okay. So I think it just depends. I think drive markets will do better regardless of star rating.
Yes.
I think the segmentation is just going to be very diverse regardless. But I do agree with Anthony about, 5-star guests expect 5-star amenities regardless.
And you know how to get invited back onto the show? Always agree with Anthony.
Yeah. I just want you to know, Jason Cronin is saying that he knows that, Anthony, you're talking about the U.S., but in Maldives, he thinks it's toast. The 5-star hotels there are not going to survive. But it is fair to say that a lot of what we're talking about is what we know here.
That's what I said. I don't think the 5-star hotels, they're going to have a lot tougher time coming out of this. I think even in America, some of these brands are going to be in really tough places. I don't know how you're going to justify. I just don't know how you're going to justify it.
I mean, Four Seasons hotels are giving rooms for free, but 4 Points hotels are selling rooms for $89.
Right. So,
Yeah,
let me
I mean, the infrastructure, the infrastructure is so heavy at the top end that it's really hard to back down. You can't really back down the cost of operations like you can at a Hampton Inn or a 4 Points. You just can't do it. You can go down from 35 associates down to 7, but you can't do that at the Ritz in the Maldives or whatever. You just can't.
Somebody says, how do you maintain ADR? And, I think we've talked about this not only today, but to in other shows. I just wanted, for those people who aren't really kind of do what we do for a living, I put it in this framework. When people say, well, rates are too high, they're too low, they're this, they're that, whatever. When you have a container of milk or you have a steak, you go to a steakhouse, you can only pay probably maybe $20 for a steak, $25 for a steak. You go to get a container of milk, maybe you'll go to the store close to you and you'll pay $5 a container of milk as opposed to Stop and Shop where you'll pay $3 a container of milk. But in a hotel, you can charge $99 tonight for a room, but then 24 hours charge $900 for a room. So the strategy for ADR is just understanding your demand and understanding your RevPAR and understanding what you need for your budget. So the revenue managers nowadays, and general managers won't like this, and director sales probably won't like this, but revenue managers today are the pilots of our hotels. 100%. They're in the driver's seat. Chris thinks he's important. He ain't that important. Cassie's a lot more important than Chris. And when I was growing up in this industry 20 years ago, at the Lucerne Hotel, I made the reservation manager, the revenue manager, was the first revenue manager in New York City, and I gave her as much money as the director of sales, and she reported directly to me. So revenue managers are not people that set pricing. Revenue managers are analysts, and they're really deep thinkers, and they're thinking of operations, to Roy's point, the CPOR of a room. They're thinking of, now imagine you're sitting in a room in your office and you have the director of sales, you have the group person, you have the food and beverage person, and you have the general manager coming in, and they have 4 pieces of business for the same date. That's what a revenue manager does. They're able to work through that, not piss anybody off, and get the business. Right?
We piss people off sometimes, but
no, but did I just kind of sum up in a nutshell what you guys do on a daily basis?
Yeah, listen, this role, I mean, these 2 guys are going to be instrumental in what we're trying to do coming back, because I'm sure I know Roy's company really well, and their leader, Ben, he's a friend of mine, and I know our company. We have very similar philosophies on how we handle the hotels, and it's really about the data mining that these 2 are doing, looking for those green shoots of business out in the future, and then how we'll set strategy going forward. So, Anthony, your point is exactly right, that the revenue managers are going to lead us out of this a lot of the way, because the group's not going to be as fast coming back as all the transient and leisure segments. So these guys and their teams are going to be what's really driving force of revenue coming out.
Right. So we got
real quick. Somebody said, Sheila, are you going to mention Sheila?
No, I was gonna show this one. She says rate integrity needs to be maintained, which plays into a question. Which plays into a question that I have on my LinkedIn feed. And I should say to everybody who we're watching on my LinkedIn feed, and now we're watching on Anthony's Facebook feed or his LinkedIn feed. You're making me look bad. You're giving him better numbers than me, and my ego can't help it. And we certainly don't need him getting better numbers than me.
The good part behind that, we're brothers, and it doesn't matter.
I know, it really doesn't matter, because as long as people are watching, that all cares. But speaking of what Sheila was saying, building upon that, Brian Klein says that consumers are going to be expecting deals galore. How can hotels educate them? That's just not going to happen, because we got smart people like Cassie and Roy here making sure that we're not going to do that.
I agree with Sheila. I think rate integrity absolutely has to be maintained. I think we're going to keep our same pricing model. We're going to be competitive based on the market. We're going to,
relook at all of our offerings, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think a rate plan that was successful pre-COVID may not be successful anymore. I think we're going to have new rate offerings. I think we're going to have to be, looking at value in a completely different way, but we can still do that and have rate integrity. And those are the hotels that are going to ramp up quicker.
Yeah, but there are also, Roy, before you answer that, but before, yes, rate integrity is important. We can't survive without it. However, there are going to be hotels and there are going to be pieces of business that we take simply to keep our employees employed.
Right.
And
that sounds like this comment right here, right?
Agreed.
Because they want to keep the lights on.
Right.
You know?
And I think that's really, we can't, someone said there's no emergencies in the pandemic, right? Because we're in an emergency. There are no emergencies. It's an emergency. The whole thing's an emergency. So you're trying to keep that young lady that has 2 kids, a container of milk on the table and keep her employed because there's challenges with the federal government trying to bail us out. So am I going to take that piece of business for $50 when usually it's $150? It depends. Is that going to skew my long-term strategy? No, because this is a pandemic. There's no emergencies in the pandemic. It's all.
And your long-term strategy changed. You have a completely new long-term strategy now. So it has to accommodate that.
Right.
No, I agree. I think that, you have to be really flexible. And what I tell all my people is don't follow the market. You are a rate leader if you are the first to price aggressively in terms of low, and you're a rate leader if you're the first person to recognize that there is demand. I'm going to push rate now. So what I tell my team is once you get into the booking window, once we're getting out of this, you have to be the first people to understand where that demand is coming from, capitalize on it. And when this hit, it was the same thing. You have to be the first people to capture this low rated occupancy. So we have to be flexible. Is rate integrity a thing? Of course it is. But I'm still trying to Cassie's point, focus on revenue. Revenue, RevPAR,
right.
That's the underlined word.
Hey, Glenn, can you flash that question back up, the longer one? I wanted to, Ryan. So this is a great question and something we talk about a ton at Chesapeake. And I know that when you're thoughtful about revenue, listen, hotels are all math. That's just what they are, right? And there's no right rate for any single day. There's hundreds of different rates. And the thing is if you're not looking at all 300 or 400 channels that are coming into your hotel and assigning the right rate by channel that's coming in for that day, I mean, you might have a slammed Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday at your hotel, but nothing on Monday. Well, your rate strategy is different. So rate integrity is really about having the right pricing strategy to get the most RevPAR in your hotel every day to pay the bills, because ultimately that's what matters. At the end of the month, I've never had an owner client of mine be upset that we had a crusher RevPAR for the month, but we had a little bit, and we blew out their GOP for the month, but we had a little bit of a mix that we could have improved on. We would work on that. But I have had owners unhappy if you were empty because you were too proud rate-wise and you weren't being thoughtful on revenue. It's really lots of, that's why these two have got these great jobs, is running that math every day for a hotel.
Right. So Brian Carr wants to know if he's being too much of an optimist of thinking that groups will want to meet in person as soon as they can to get away from this new norm of video conferencing, which I think kind of dovetails nicely into a question on Anthony's page that Harold Henning had about contracted business that was on the books for Q2. Have they been scheduled for later in the year or 2021? Anyone? Cassie?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Cassie.
I was just going to say, a lot of ours have rescheduled to fourth quarter. Definitely some have completely moved to 2021, but I think it's optimistic, but at the same time, it's going to depend on their budget, right? Was there want to travel? They could absolutely want to meet in person, but if they don't have the funds to do it, there's nothing they can do. They've got to push it. But we did have a lot rescheduled. I will say that.
That's good news. Roy, how about you? How are you seeing it?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of things move into September and October. Unfortunately, there are just a ton of things that have gotten canceled. Graduations can go online. Let's see what happens in the future. This potentially changes how people do business. I'm not saying it's going to change the broader scope of corporate America, but even if it changes a few small companies here and there, it has an impact. Talk to the people at Trip Actions. They're talking about all the people that they have, all the companies that are smaller that work with them, that use them. Maybe they're going to be compelled to do video conferences like these.
Yeah. Uh-oh, Anthony, your microphone is off. You turned yourself off and didn't turn yourself back on.
I'm sorry. Don't look at your phone when you're on a live thing, because there's stuff that you don't want to see when you're going live, because your brain trails off.
Right.
But anyway, what the hell was the question?
You weren't saying a question. You were about to make a statement, but we were talking about business shifting and stuff like that. But let me.
I was going to say,
Roy was saying that even a few companies shifted to virtual meetings, that could be painful.
I remember it now. Zoom and this kind of conferencing is actually so effective, and it's so intimate that some companies are like, you know what, this is really working better. We're actually more efficient because instead of having all these meetings, everybody's really focused. Nobody's looking at their cell phones. And
I really, now.
Well, unfortunately, as a lot of us have, I got a little bit of bad news about a friend of mine. But and that's another thing. We're talking about business, but every single one of them. 3 weeks ago, we'd be challenged to know if any one of us was touched from this virus. I would guarantee you that all 5 of us have been touched by it, and in some capacity, and. So we got to keep that right. As much as we're trying to keep business alive.
I was all ready to say that I thought Roy was wrong, but because I'm old enough to have been through 2001 and 2008 when we heard that everything was going to reset. But then you said at the end there, Roy, that even if a few small companies make the shift, and I think that is really what's most fearful of, that small ebbing away, which might prevent us from being able to hit peak capacity again and peak pricing there. And that fear that folks will realize that in certain circumstances, not all the times, that maybe I don't need to get on that airplane. Maybe I don't need to go have that meeting in person. Maybe this Zoom thing will work out for us, right?
I'm looking forward to the productivity analyses that come out after this. Can you imagine what the New York Times is going to report on once we're all done and talk about the productivity of people when they work from home versus the same people that work in the office?
Yeah. I mean, I got a friend who works for a big bank. He lives farther out east on Long Island than I do. He's got to go. He does technology for them, but he's got to go into Southern Manhattan every single day. It's a 2.5 hour commute each way for him. He's still got his job. He's working from home. He's more productive than ever, and he has more free time than ever. He's got a great quality of life right now. So there are people out there that are having the exact opposite experience that we're all having here right now.
But I just want to make sure that everyone, understands Roy,
Oh, so suspenseful. Poor Anthony. I love how the internet always freezes you when your face is the worst expression possible. We'll wait for him to come back on in a second, but here he is.
So I agree with you, Roy, to some extent, but we're going to come back stronger. And this is not just words. This is not just I'm puffing my chest out. This is not because I want to get people's confidence up. This is based on experience, and this is based on what I'm seeing. Okay, and this is based on my knowledge of the last 30 years in the business and also being in America for 55 years. We're going to come back stronger, and we're going to beat the numbers that we had in 2016, 17. Right. It's going to take a while, and business is going to change. Apparently Netflix and DVDs were going to put movie theaters out of business. That didn't happen. So people are going to shift, and maybe more people work from home. But this business is going to come back, and it's going to boom again, and it's not going to take 5 or 6 years. That's just my opinion, based on everything that I've.
Well, if you look at the last 2 downturns, Anthony, we were repeatedly told by the executives that know everything that there's no way we will ever get back to the rates that we had, and those rates are long in history because this last run we had of 10+ years really put everything else into the past for sure.
I think it depends on the market. It's not right. I mean, when I was quoting that, I said Manhattan, right? So Manhattan hasn't rebounded, but that doesn't mean that other markets won't. I mean, we all have markets being fine. So we'll see. There's a lot to play.
Yeah, great point, Roy. And this is probably a good time to just mention to everybody that's watching. Yeah, we understand that every market is different. Every street corner is different. But the only way we can talk about this, for the most part, is in broader generalization. So for what we're saying does not necessarily fit what you're experiencing at your particular property or in your community. That would be the reason why.
Somebody just said something I thought is a pretty good point.
Yeah.
I hope all front desk associates don't get replaced by kiosk. I think brands are going to use as an excuse to have more check-in virtually, and not so much kiosk, but to have more zero touch points to get to the door. So I think that people are going to use an excuse, whereas before it's like, well, service. Now I think people are going to want it, and I think some brands are going to. Hilton does a good job with it, and I think it's going to be. I think you're going to see some front desk go away.
Right.
And I don't think everything's going to look like the Yotel, but I think it's going to.
Right.
It's going to be reduced.
I think you're right in that, but I don't think it'll be kiosks. I think what you really mean to say is virtual keys that go right to your phone.
It won't be kiosk. Kiosk is
right.
over.
It'll be. You had said the word kiosk, but I just wanted to make sure that people knew you really meant virtual keys.
No, I said it won't be kiosk. Pay attention,
okay.
Glenn. Do you want to be invited back?
Well, with the way my numbers on my page are going today compared to yours, I may not be, but we'll see. I got a great question coming from John Brinkman. Oh my God, can you imagine third-party rates? What's your opinion on how to go ahead and work with those kind of companies that are out there? Roy, Cassie's been answering first for a while. Why don't you take this one first, and we'll make Cassie wait for a second.
I think that the third parties are struggling the same way we're struggling. They're going to try to open up how many hotels are on their platforms too. Mm-hmm. I don't think that you can ignore that. That's just the underlying statement. I mean, the amount of people that have been laid off, furloughed at those companies. I mean, I've gotten text messages from far too many people. I mean, you can see it in the stock prices. You can see it in the way they communicate online right now. It's painful for everybody. So we're going to work with them the same way we worked with them before. Probably better, right? We need to get better. The industry needs to do things better. We get to work with our partners more effectively than we have in the past.
Right. Right, Cassie?
Yeah, it's a critical channel for us. I think, we're gonna, as Roy said, I mean, we're gonna sell the same way we did before. Just, we're gonna develop our distribution strategies right now. Right? We're doing that right now for every channel. That includes the OTAs. Okay, so we know that it's a necessary channel for us that we'll use. But I think, again, they can only sell what we give them to sell, so we just have to be smart about it. We have to be really smart with length of stay, room types, packages, booking windows.
Right.
We really have to look at all of that.
So do the opposite that the industry did after 2001 and 2008. Right? This time, you'll be smart about it.
We've learned from that. We really have.
That's right. Serious. Yeah. Anthony, you look like you were going to say something.
Yeah, I wish I had control over my Facebook comments right now, because there's a bunch of idiots saying things, and I don't like when people get on here and say stupid things for no reason. I'm sorry.
Wait, I just want to make sure you're not still talking to me, right?
I'll stop commenting, no, Anthony.
But listen, we're talking about trying to help each other. I think what Roy said is I think your mindset is exactly right, Roy. I think. And Cassie, I think we can't look at this. We don't want to get hurt, and we don't want to hurt anybody else. Not saying that there's not a little bit of meat you can take off the bone on third parties. There might be, but we all have to help each other. And some of these comments are useless comments, because we're here to help people. We're here to remembering that we're in a pandemic and that we're trying to save people's businesses. That's what we're here to do. We're not here to take shots at people. But anyway, so Glenn, what else we got?
I think that the questions are starting to become repetitive. I really think that we've caught all the major silos of conversation that we need to do. Cassie, Roy, is there a particular topic when it comes to revenue management that we haven't addressed that you feel that we should be talking about?
I think we have to talk about meetings. I think we talked about Zoom, but we didn't talk about how we're enhancing.
All right. So we did have some questions, Roy, in terms of the meetings and about some meetings being pushed back, et cetera, maybe into 2021. How realistic is that? And what are you really seeing in the evidence? And I guess the third portion of that question would be, do you feel that maybe there's a lot of people still sitting on the sidelines thinking about if and when they're going to reschedule?
I mean, look at my plans and look at anybody else's plans on this call. I mean, are you guys planning travel for May? I'm not.
No.
So with that being said, yeah, people are trying to figure out when they should travel and what the reason for their travel is. So for our meetings in this industry, we have to have a remarkable change in how we conduct meetings. Meetings in the hotel industry are boring in a boardroom with AV that doesn't tend to work and things of that nature, just generally speaking. That's got to change in order to tell people that they should have meetings. Otherwise, this technology makes it so that people are like, all right, well, why have a meeting? Right? In-person thing is the only thing going for us. We have to make meetings in hotels better. It has to be something that we can actually sell. Right now, we're just selling a little room with a bunch of chairs and a desk.
Right. I don't know. I feel like, yes, that's a fear for certain types of meetings, but I think about our major industry meetings. I think about the lodging conference. I think about Alice, and I think about NYU and the Hunter conference. By the way, Lee Hunter is going to be on the show any day now to talk about the difficulties they've gone through having to reschedule their event. But those types of events, to me, it's not about sitting necessarily and listening to a moderator talk to some panelists like we're doing here today. It's more about building relationships with individuals and going out to meals with them and having drinks with them in order to do deals or get to know each other. That's not something that's easily replaceable by being in Zoom. Yeah, all of you guys out there could learn and have an educational session, but the last time I went to a major conference, the only breakout sessions I ever go to are the ones that I'm hosting. So I don't go to events for that type of information. I go for all of the other stuff that you cannot get online, no matter how hard you try. Is that valid at all?
I can't tell you how many times in the last year that we've been in an event and I'm like, hey, I'm going to play poker, or I'm going to my room. And
I can tell you every time.
and Glenn says, well, you know, I got to meet this person. I think this is a good connection. I'm going to go to this event. Then I'm going to go cross town to go to that event. And I just look at him and go, God bless you. I'm out.
That's right.
But he's not kidding. I mean, he uses these events to really make contacts, and he does it the old-fashioned way by really listening to people and really connecting to people. I've seen it firsthand. He does everything the way I don't do everything. I disappear.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. What'd you say there, Anthony? But seriously, I get offended at conferences, and this is like a weird thing to get offended about, when I know people are spending $2,000 to be there and then they don't go to the cocktail party. They just skip out and go to a dinner with a friend of theirs. I'm like, what are you doing? This is your chance to meet people.
Usually you're the friend I'm asking to go to dinner with me.
You know, good point, but you're not paying for that conference, so I don't have a problem with it.
What about the virtual conferences? Some of the conferences this year have been scheduled to become virtual. I wonder if those are going to be hits. I mean, a lot of what happens in the future might depend on how those go.
My gut, and Chris, then I'll let you take over, is they will be hits the first time out of the gate, maybe the second time out of the gate, but it's not something with staying power. It's just not. It's not like being with people. All right, Chris, sorry.
No, I mean, I actually was on the phone this morning with the head of one of the major conferences, just catching up, one of the major industry conferences. And I can tell you that I can't wait to go. I'm a relational person. I need to, maybe we're not shaking hands, but I need to see my friends and Glenn and a lot of our other contacts face to face and share a glass of wine and build relationships. Hospitality is all about relationships, and that's why we do what we do, all of us, I think. And so I can't wait to get back to it. And I think that there's a whole bunch of the public that can't wait to get back to it either. It's going to look different, and I hope, to Roy's point, we don't have barely working AV in any of the hotels or any of that stuff, but we shouldn't. Still, there's something about connecting at the human level with people. That's the same thing to Anthony's point about touchless check-in. I think we're going to have a lot of that digital check-in, digital key. I use it with my apps and everything, but I still want to have a warm greeting from somebody, and I still want hospitality to be part of hospitality.
Yep. Excellent.
A vendor said, as a new vendor, the events are key for us. Can't wait regardless how it would look. Well, a really good way to get in front of really good hotel people is to advertise on the show. I'm just telling you.
I think that's a great idea, and that's why the folks over at Bartech are so super smart. You can check them out at bartech.com. And just think about it. You guys put mini bars in your room when people are scared of that social distancing, want to do that social distancing thing because they're a little anxious. Let them, and they don't want to hit the bar. They'll get the drinks, they'll get the food, they'll get the snacks in the room themselves. So it's a good time to check bartech.com. And of course, Cintas.com as well, right? For your facility sterilizing needs. Anthony.
Well, especially now, coming back and when travel happens and guests are coming in, the number one thing is not going to be rate. Is it safe? So you have to have a professional company. And I put my name, my brand, and my soul behind Cintas. They're some of the greatest people I've ever met. And I've been with them for 10 years, I think, or 8 years as a spokesperson. So yes, Cintas.com for all your sterilization needs for the hotel. I think it's critical. So what else we got there, Glenn?
I think this might be a good time to start winding things down. We've been on for an hour already, if you can believe that. This has been an incredibly rewarding conversation. I'd love to have you guys back and maybe some other revenue management folks in the future. This is one of those things that we really need to have an ongoing dialogue, because what works for today is not necessarily going to be the best strategy as we move forward in 2 weeks, a month, 2 months from now. How about this thought? I think that the end of the summer, Labor Day, going back to school, the beginning of the conference season, there's something really psychological about that September 1st-ish date. My hunch is that is the point that we're going to say, hey, let's get back to normal. Let's get back to the routines. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Cassie?
I think we're planning for that. I think I want to agree, and I think I'm planning for that. I've heard a lot of stay the course, right? For me and my team, we're creating a new course, and it starts, September, August, it follows through 2021. I mean, this is what we're going to be looking at every single day to get new business into our hotels. And it's going to look very different, but we're going to create that course and we're going to get there.
Great. Roy?
Labor Day seems like the start when we're going to get back to close.
Yep. Chris?
Man, I hope it's sooner than that. I've got 1,700 associates that need me to get them back to work, and we're focused every day on that, and I need it to be sooner. I hope that.
I think that we're talking about that ramp up, the undimming of the light before September 1st. I'm saying September 1st is when people psychologically say, hey, let's get back to it as a society, as opposed to the first people making the foray out.
It could be. Yeah. I mean, if you think about it, personal income and savings accounts are going to be depleted coming out of this with just what's going on with the economy. People have taken a hit in the stock market, and that was one of the segments that was traveling so much, was the individual leisure traveler, because they had a bigger wallet right now, and that's going to be different. So you're right, summer travel is going to probably be more difficult. Corporations are going to be pent up and ready to go. So I think that, Labor Day is a good demarcation line. But, man, I just think about my people that are out right now.
Yeah, of course. You can't help but think about that.
And this is, someone said, I think it was Brian Newman, who's Lady Gaga's band leader and a good friend of ours. He was on the show last week. And one of his bandmates said, if you don't come out a better musician out of this pandemic, then you weren't a real musician to begin with. If you don't become a better hotelier coming out of this, you weren't a real hotelier to begin with. And what is a real hotelier? A real hotelier cares deeply about their employees more than their guests. Because if you care deeply about your employees, they will care about their guests. The people that do that right will come out of this slowly, one foot in front of the other, but we'll come out of it. So when we come out of this, I hope, and I remember in 2008, the guys that wanted their carnations going in 2008 didn't come out of 2008. Okay, the director of sales that just were order takers didn't come out of 2008. They got retired, whether they wanted to or not. So if you're a real hotelier, you're going to survive this. If you're not, you're probably going to be in a different business when this is all over.
Yep. Excellent. Well, thank you so much for everyone for being here today. We'll say goodbye to Roy and to Cassie over here. See you guys soon. Chris, again, thank you so much for being here. And because you're our regular guest, I just want to say we look forward to seeing you again on Thursday of this week and Tuesdays and Thursdays of every week as we continue to follow.
I'm getting too intimidated.
Will you be seeing me in Chris's corner?
Yeah. Yes, we will.
Let me ask a question. As a partner, right? We're partners, right, Glenn? We're partners in this show.
That's right.
Chris's corner popped up out of nowhere. We didn't get approval.
I know we didn't get approval because you know why? Because I really like surprising you with things like this, Anthony. I just can't help myself. Look, we got to have some fun. We're through the period of ruining our existences. We're trying to get back to positivity. And one of the things that we could do is continue to have a sense of humor, no matter how dark things can get. So Anthony and I are going to continue to try to be as, human as we possibly can. And I know, Chris, having you here has just been so great. And again, thank you so much for being so open and honest with us on every single show. And
it's an honor to be with you two pros, believe me. So
thanks, man. We will see you on Thursday. Take care.
Right.
Have a good one. So, Anthony, we've made it to the end of another show.
Yeah, unfortunately for Chris, me and my partner Jeremy are going to go after his revenue manager. I just kidding, Chris. And you too, Roy. One of the things, we're I just want to make clear, because I just got a text from somebody that says, hey, there's still a lot going on in the world. There is, but we're here to give information, and there are a lot of people that are getting sick, and there are a lot of people in the ICU right now, and there are doctors and nurses on the front line. So we're not making light of that at all, because they rather got grace of God go I. Yeah. What we're doing is we're trying to give information. So if you are going to be commenting on this show, positive comments, questions, any ridiculousness or comments about other people's comments, you're going to be barred and you're not going to be on. I don't care if you're a long-term fan or not. That's not what this is for, and I have zero tolerance for that. Sorry that I say that, but
that's all right. I appreciate that you have to, control the unruly ones out there. And I do want to make it clear that what Anthony just said does not apply to people saying nice things about me. You can continue to do that. That is not an effective comment.
That is correct. And I'd like to get, I'm going to get an Anthony's Corner, and I'm going to post it on here.
I love it.
All right. So listen, you can see it by what Cassie said, that we're looking 30, 60, 90 days. We're looking at the business differently. We're going to come at this differently. Me and my team are changing the way we think. We're changing because we have to. Mm-hmm. If we said nothing in the last 2 weeks, listen to those words. Listen to what she said. I think her words were some of the best words that I've ever heard on this show. Is yes, we have to deal with what's in front of us, but we've got to change, and we've got to change our mentality. And she was excited to start to change. You can hear it in her voice. So I think those were great words, and I think this was a really good show. And at 3:00, I will be on Facebook Live with my friend Jeremy and my partner Jeremy, talking about similar stuff, and also operation stuff. And you can ask me any questions you want. And please go to Hospitality Success on Facebook. It's a community where we're all talking to each other. Hospitality Success by Anthony Melchior, I think it is. Me and Jeremy own a company called Hospitality Success, but this isn't about our company. This is about just conversation going from hotelier to hotelier. It's free. Just sign up. Hospitality Success on Facebook. Glenn, where can people find you, Glenn?
Yes, you can find me at novacancynews.com. Of course, you're following our feed, so you can follow me on LinkedIn. You can follow both of us on Facebook over here. And of course, subscribe to our weekly newsletter. Text the word hotel to 66866 for more great content delivered to your mailbox every Sunday. It's a whole survey of everything that we've done all week with all of our videos, all of our podcasts, all of that great kind of stuff, plus other stuff that you're not necessarily going to see online. So be sure to schedule a chance and just text the word hotel to 66866. So Anthony, let's say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody. See you all tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern Daylight Time. We'll see you right here with another great show. Take care and see you tomorrow.